Well, hey everyone, we are the Empty Besters, Rob and Sue, and we're doing something a little different today. We are
Yay.
talking with our daughter Cecilia, who just got back from a trip to Japan, where, among other things, you visited Disney Sea. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what was going on and why you were there?
I was there with my husband Ish, and we were traveling with his brother and my brother-in-law's wife. They live in Australia, and as it turns out, Japan is a very good midpoint between Australia and the United States. So we were in Tokyo for a couple of days, did Kyoto and Osaka as well. And while we were in Tokyo, we thought it would be fun to go to Disney Sea. It was also my brother and sister-in-law's first time at any Disney park, so that was very special as well.
Oh, cool. So you've done Disney World a bunch of times.
Yes.
Wh- When you were looking at the preparation for Disney Sea, like what was your first impression about it? Because we've never been there.
No. Um, uh, it really felt like a variation of Epcot, to be
Okay.
honest. Um, and the Tokyo Disney has what is the equivalent of a Magic Kingdom, and then they also have Disney Sea. Now, Disney Sea is unique to Tokyo, but it is representative of a bunch of different maritime areas of the world. So you're walking through at one point New York, and then before that you were in Venice, and then before after that you might walk through something closer approximating to Greece. So it felt very Epcot like in that you're going around all of these different worlds that are very much taken out of our real world, but are very maritime based versus just country based.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah. Is it all like in the current time, or is it like New York in the 1700s, or how did that
It
feel?
wa it was New York out of the 1920s from what it felt like for
Okay.
the New York. They also had a small spot, leading in from New York, which was kind of almost Boston-like.
Oh,
Um, I suppose Boston's probably my best approximation because it was very much New England, but it wasn't New York, and that also looked, stepping out of time like you were somewhere from 100 years ago. And then Venice straight up looked like something out of the 1800s as far as Venice goes. So, you are kind of walking through time as well as place.
Oh, wow.
how long did it take you to plan this trip?
So, it took a couple of, I would say over the course of several days, it probably took a combined couple of hours.
Oh,
We're going with four different adults, and we knew we were only doing one park. So there was the preparation time in learning how you buy tickets, which is that with Tokyo Disney, they go on sale about 3 months before at 1 p.m. Tokyo time, which in Denver is about 9 p.m. So I set like an alarm on my phone and we bought the tickets as soon as they dropped. The big thing that shocked me about that was a couple of things. One, you had to buy them through a separate app. You couldn't just buy them through your normal channels because Tokyo Disney is not actually owned by Disney. It's a
Oh,
licensing agreement.
oh, weird. Okay.
okay.
So
I didn't.
there is a whole separate app for Tokyo Disney, and it looks very much like the apps that Disney has, but it is a separate app, it's a separate platform. You also have the option of like a timed entry or an all-day entry. Um, and so we went with the all day. I was also shocked by how cheap they were. I mean, I think we only spent about $60 per adult per ticket, which
Wow.
for those of you who have bought Magic Kingdom tickets recently, it's about
Yeah.
120 per adult per ticket. So
Yeah.
it was a really good monetary value that I thought. I also personally spent a lot of time looking up the rides. However, if you are someone who is familiar with Disney rides, you may not have to do that, to be honest with you. They have Tower of Terror, they have Soarin', they have Turtle Talk with Crush. They have a lot of the rides that people are familiar with. The big difference is they have two Jules Verne rides. So we did Journey to the Center of the Earth, and there's also a ride for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And that's where you're kind of going to see that this is not Disney ownership coming in because Disney does not own the rights to these movies.
I
Oh,
see.
okay. So we were just in Disneyland, and one of the rides I thought was really neat was the submarine ride.
Yeah, it used to be the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but they turned it into Nemo.
Yeah, was it kind of like that where you get in a submarine and it goes down?
From my understanding, yes. We ended up not doing 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea due to the wait time, but thereabouts, yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned to us when we were talking earlier was the premier passes and how you use them to get onto a few of the rides. How did that work? Do you have to buy that in advance or like was it on the
So you
spot?
it's on the spot. You actually can't buy your first one
Oh,
until you've scanned into the park.
Okay.
oh,
So
okay.
we got in the line and we you got through the line to get into the park in about half an hour, which was apparently a fantastic time.
Wow.
Um And from there, I immediately went to the app, pulled up the Premier Pass, and it gave me a list of all the rides we could do and the times that we could do them at. So people who got into the park first thing had already, claimed that first wave of Premier Passes. But we had kind of discussed in advance what we were going to do as far as rides go. We're four adults, so we're not really interested in Turtle Talk of Crush. Um,
Right.
but we could kind of prioritize from there. So I booked us on the Tower of Terror first thing at noon. So that we got it at 9:30ish. We knew that by noon we'd be on the Tower of Terror. So each priority pass you book per person is a little bit of money. I think that's similar to the fast passes now. Um, and so I think for um, just to give numbers, I believe for Tower of Terror, we ended up paying total about $60. And then for another roller coaster, it kind of went closer to 70. Um, However, when you break that down per adult, you kind of see that it's actually not that expensive. And we were saving at any given time over an hour to an hour and a half of wait time.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. So the price of the ticket then probably takes into account that this is going to be something people do, as
Yes.
opposed to like a fast pass or a lightning
Right.
lane where you might be included with your ticket.
Yeah, and there are occasions where Premier Pass may be free, but from what I was seeing on the day that we went, there was no free ones available.
Okay.
Okay.
And it covered 6 total rides and you did 3 of them?
Yeah, there was six rides of the options for that day. A couple of the roller coasters were closed. There's an Indiana Jones ride, for example, that was closed for maintenance when we went. Otherwise, I would have been on that ride three or four times.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So speaking of the rides, I have to know, is Soarin' the same?
It's Soarin' around the world. And I'm gonna be honest
Okay.
with you, I haven't gone on Soarin' since it changed from Soarin' California to Soarin' around the world. But it
Okay.
follows an Italian inventress who creates a flying machine. So if that's
Oh,
soaring around
Yeah,
the
so
world for
that's
you
totally different.
guys,
yeah.
Yeah, if I
um,
keep back to Soarin' California for the
Yeah, they have a special one right now. It's soaring around America for the
okay.
250th.
yeah.
So I haven't seen that one, no.
Alright, so if
But
Soaring's different, was,
soaring's
What
different.
Hollywood, hotel, or is it a different type of hotel?
It's a New
Or
York
yeah,
Oh,
hotel
it's in New
with a
York?
whole different storyline.
oh,
In this storyline, a 1920s American adventurer goes to the Congo and brings back a monkey statue that is cursed.
okay.
And the monkey statue on the day that his hotel opens is what causes him to disappear in the elevator. Um, and the waiting line was actually fun. We did premiere pass that or fast pass that, but all that did was have us skip the hotel lobby essentially, which was a
Yeah.
Okay.
huge line in and of itself. But we skipped that. And then we walked through the storage room, and it's like the storage room out of an Indiana Jones back rooms moment where they have like a sarcophagus coming out of a crate and things like that. It's
Gotcha.
really cool and kind of sets that scene of the adventurer look. So yeah, it's a whole different storyline at the Tower of Terror. It's, New York based, still 1920, so it still kind of has that level of theming around it. I would say that the theming in the park is on brand for any Disney park. Like, there was a lot of attention to detail as far as the decor goes.
Okay,
Okay.
good. All right.
Were any of the other rides that you went on, like, surprisingly different, or did they start to feel more familiar?
So I would say that they were a little bit different. With the Tower of Terror one specifically, I actually feel like it was shorter than the one in Hollywood Studios. We only went up and down about three times, and I feel like maybe it's just my memory, but I feel like the other one may have been a little bit longer. Um,
Yeah. I don't know. I remember when you first went on that, you must have been pretty young.
It was before
I
they
was a
made it
very
rain.
tall child, so I was probably in elementary school.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that ride. Brian was with us, and his seatbelt didn't work. He didn't tell anyone because he was embarrassed. And me and the guy next to us were like holding on for his dear life as we went up and down. That was yeah, a crazy ride.
Yes.
Uh,
They did have a train ride too that takes you from one end of the park to another, and that does feel a lot like the Magic Express that they have in Magic
Oh,
Kingdom as
okay.
well.
That's nice.
Um, I think this kind of falls into everything felt very familiar, but it was all just very uniquely different in that Tokyo way, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. So you also mentioned the like instructions weren't always in English. Was it always obvious what to do?
Yes, if you've ever been on a roller coaster before.
Like
I would
pull down.
it's kind of like if you are somebody who has been to Disney World before and you could probably list off those instructions in English and in Spanish if you're going to the Florida one,
Sure.
then yes, you know what to do. For any major ride, like for roller coasters where there might have been an actual safety issue, I remember the instructions being in English as well. I kind of wonder if they have a button they press when they see people who might be English speaking because it was very random at certain points, but it was pretty obvious what to do. And this is not my first time in a foreign country. What I have always done in the past is I just look to see what people who know what they're doing, like who look like they know what they're doing, are doing. And
Sure.
I have found that that usually works for me.
Okay.
Sure.
Uh, was it Food and Wine Festival while you were there?
It was Food and Wine Festival. It's like the first thing I texted mom. I'm like, I'm here during Food and Wine Festival. So I wasn't planning on it being Food and Wine Festival. That was totally random. And the big thing that struck me was I have been to Epcot during Food and Wine Festival. And you know, there's those little stalls everywhere.
Yeah.
This was the existing restaurants. They just added things to the menu.
Oh, okay.
So
Now, are they walk up like, or do you have to actually go in and have reservations or sit down? How did that work at the
there's a
restaurants?
mix of there is a mix of both. We did two counter service restaurants. Um, but there was reservation restaurants, and we did debate doing one at one point. It was simply that that restaurant was not going to be open for a while. So we
Sure.
figured
Okay.
it'd be easier to do that. With the counter service, you can actually reserve and order your food in advance. When we saw how long some of the lines were for counter service, we did look into it, but the reservations were an hour out and we figured the line might only take 45 minutes. So there is a little bit of, judge how much the line's actually going to be before you go ahead and pre-order your food if you're already standing in front of that restaurant.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
But you did have some challenges with food, right? You mentioned
Yes.
that a member of your party is halal.
Yes, both my brother and sister-in-law do eat halal. And then additionally, I have a kiwi allergy, which is shockingly going to be an issue in Japan. Um, so my brother-in-law wanted to have the sausage burger, and typically, at Disney, and I had actually told him in advance because my experience with Disney had always been if you tell them you're halal, they can make anything halal. They can
Right.
allergy accommodate most things. That was not the case with Japan. Um, there was some level of allergy accommodation they could do, but they did tell my brother-in-law that if he had really wanted an accommodation for a dietary restriction, he needed to have contacted them in advance to figure out what he could do. We did not know that going in, so we did
Yeah.
not do that. Now, thankfully, there were
Right.
vegetarian items on the menu, and that vegetarian item happens to be Food and Wine Festival vegetarian. So I also feel like it was a little bit nicer than what we normally would have
A little
gotten.
elevated. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was disappointing for him, I know, because, it's when you have a food allergy issue, you don't want to cause a hassle. And while it's not an allergy for him, it is a strict accommodation that I would say should be treated similarly in food spaces where he may not die if he's going to eat it, but it would be a big deal for him to eat it.
Yeah.
Right.
So with the Food and Wine Festival things, you mentioned that like a vegetarian item was there. Did they feel familiar to what you would expect at Epcot? Or were these very like Japanese Food and Wine Festival things?
It was interesting. It was a soybean nugget which it looked and kind of tasted just like every other vegetarian chicken like nugget I've ever had. You guys remember I was vegetarian for a couple of years. It straight up could have
Mhm.
been one of the ones that I bought while not
Sure.
eating meat, but it was really good. I would actually say that the texture and taste was a lot better. And then we had a soybean fritter, or not soybean, we had a seaweed fritter,
Oh,
and
interesting.
What?
that was really good.
That sounds
And then it all came with a romesco dipping sauce,
Hmm. I hear
which
that. Oh, that's not fancy enough to know what that
don't know what
means.
romesco is.
I buy
Is it
it off of my meal kits from Trifecta. I have like they sometimes call it like a romesco steak. It's essentially like it's like a South American dipping sauce. I couldn't tell you what
oh,
country.
okay.
I'm not that
But
educated.
yeah,
But
Huh.
it's good. And then the special drink, there was wine options, but it was really hot and I
yeah.
wasn't feeling like drinking. So the special drink was kiwi and blue
Oh,
and some sort of blue raspberry with sparkles in it. So I made Ish drink that because it also had
okay.
crushed kiwi in there. I was kind of like, well, maybe I can have the kiwi flavoring because that's probably not real. And then it comes with
Right.
crushed kiwi,
Oh,
which was
I
not
see.
labeled, but you know what? He's not allergic and he said it was good.
Okay.
You had a like a red Mickey head ice cream thing as well? I saw some of the photos
Yes.
that you had sent, yeah.
So
Was
that
that
was
ice cream or
actually
like
peach
a fruit thing?
raspberry popsicle.
Oh,
Oh,
It
that
was
sounds really
really
good.
good.
yeah. Especially on a
Um,
hot.
it was really hot. So something that people should probably think about is Japan's in the northern hemisphere, so when it gets hot in the United States, it's going to get hot there too, and it's also going to be humid.
Oh, yeah.
So when we went, I would say that it was actually probably not even that hot of a day, but it was still probably in the mid 80s Fahrenheit and humid. Um,
Okay. So where is it, like, I guess, relative to Tokyo or the coast? Like, I
it's
don't have
actually
any I
wonderful.
don't
It's what?
Like when I was on the train, you can actually see the ocean from several of the
Oh,
rides.
okay.
okay.
It so it's directly on the coast from Tokyo. It's about 20 minutes, really. I mean, the train goes out there and there's like the city never stops at any point. It's just from the main city area where most people are staying, 20-minute Uber, probably close to an hour on the train if you were going to do the train.
Right. And you did Uber. What made you decide to do that instead of the train?
So we were on, our hotel was next to a train stop, but when we sat down the night before and looked at it, what we saw was we could either sleep in a little bit and order an Uber and just cough up that little extra money, or we could get up earlier because we would have to transfer trains 3 times. Now, there are gonna be
Oh
people who are on a
gosh.
direct line, and then there's gonna be people who have to
A lot.
transfer. We were just at a specific hotel where we had to transfer, and we weighed out the time versus cost.
Okay.
And we just
So
decided that the cost was worth it.
in Orlando, like, the Bright Line comes with to the airport, right? It doesn't actually go to the
Mhm.
parks, maybe someday. But in Paris, it goes, like, to the
The
front
Orient,
gate.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
and so if had you taken the train, do you know
front
roughly where
gate.
you would
front
Oh,
I
really?
got lost
Okay.
at
okay.
one point, found it. It drops you off at the front gate, and there's lockers and, some vending machines, which to be gonna put out a PSA here. I could not find water bottles. There's exactly 2 water bottle vending machines in the entire park that I found. They're very far away from each other. Buy water bottles before you go in.
Oh
There's plenty
gosh.
of
Do they have
places
a
where you can
filling?
refill.
Yeah, okay, so they have a filling station for you.
So yeah, we were able to go to some of the counter service restaurants and they were able to like give us water in small glasses and they pointed out where we could have refilled bottles, but there wasn't like a drinking fountain or anything. So when we did
Okay.
find water, that was really nice. It's right in front of Tower of Terror and it's right next to Soarin', and there may be a couple more hidden in there, but we never found them.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So they didn't have, like, refill stations outside every bathroom like they do
In
in
Florida.
Not
Florida.
really.
Okay.
No,
Oh,
not really. There was a couple of stations where you absolutely could have, like near Journey to the Center of the Earth, kind of transitioning from one land to another, there's this huge hand washing station, and it's just a full on sink. So you could reasonably refill your water bottle there depending on how comfortable you are with that.
Like an outdoor hand washing station?
Yeah, just say solo hand washing station. It's near three
Oh,
different like quick service snack areas. So I think the intention is just so people can wash their hands before and after eating.
I mean, I kinda love that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it's just it's like when you walk into the dining room at a cruise ship and
Yeah,
they
washy
have washy
washy.
washy and,
Yeah, they had
oh, I
plenty. They had a couple of hand washing stations there throughout, which is why I'm saying like you could refill your water bottle there. I personally would have no problem with that since it's all just tap water.
yeah,
Mhm.
okay. And then the Uber you took, uh, it sounds like you'd say it was worth the extra cost?
For us personally, yes, it was worth the extra cost. If you are going to be on a train line where it is going to be a direct route, I don't know that it would be worth the extra cost because it would be so much cheaper to take the train. Um, I would say that at any given time, my train tickets on a one-off way were it's I think 160 yen right now to the dollar, so $4 or $5 at any given time for train
Okay.
tickets.
Okay.
Whereas an Uber ran us closer to $20. But then there's that trade-off of, for us, that time spent
Right.
made the money worth it.
Absolutely.
But I don't know that that would be the case for somebody who is on a direct line.
But that would have been 4 tickets for 4 adults. With the Uber, when you say 20, do you mean total or do you mean per adult?
Oh, 20. Like the Uber
Okay,
was
so
just
really the price
Oh, that's really
for 4
good.
people
Yeah.
yeah,
then you paid $1 each to sleep an extra half hour?
And that
basically,
was fair.
yes.
I mean, who knows what
Yeah.
the train situation would have been like? It could have been standing room only.
It would have been. We actually ended up on the line that goes straight to Disney at one point to get to our second hotel when we were on our,
Sure.
return leg in Tokyo, and that was standing room only until we passed the Disney line stops.
Sure.
Well, it sounds like you had the right call then.
Yeah.
So, nobody in your group spoke Japanese though, right?
Beyond knowing how to say thank you, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Okay, so was the Uber situation, like, simple? I know that sometimes when we're traveling abroad in non-English countries, sometimes it works out great, and sometimes the language barrier becomes a real issue. Was it no problem at all, or was anything happen?
Nothing happened in that Uber ride, and really the big issues with language barriers was drop-offs and figuring out where the correct drop-off spot was.
I'm sure.
We did Uber a fair amount in Japan just because one, when you're used to American pricing and you can do the math and realize that it is a lot cheaper, it works out that way. And yeah, I think a big part of it was just like knowing where correct drop-offs were going to be and where pickup was going to be. Um, but other than that, I found the Ubers to be incredibly professional. Most of the time, they would send a whole van to
Oh,
pick
wow.
people
Wow.
up. Um, and the drivers almost always were wearing suits with white gloves.
Huh.
Interesting, like a chauffeur.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was a very interesting experience, but it was definitely really good. I would say that overall we had some pretty positive interactions, and the Uber drivers were always happy to give local suggestions as well. A lot of them would had this like almost a separate kind of iPad looking thing that they would talk into and it would translate what they were saying into English, and they would kind of so, like, when we were going to places within actual Japanese towns, they would kind of, like, give suggestions on where to go if we weren't sure of what we wanted to
That's
do once we were
awesome.
there.
Yeah, I love that.
That's great.
And so the Uber drop off and pickup at the park, is it near the front, or is it like the ticket and transportation center where you have to then, like, get shuttled to the front, or how did that work?
It was actually near the bus drop-off, so I would say it was probably, like, a three-minute walk to the front.
Oh,
Okay.
Um, the big thing we found is that there's actually two fronts, so we walked in one way and we walked out what we thought was another way, and then we got
Oh,
so turned around, found the train station, and the guard was actually like, "Oh, you wanna be at the north entrance, you're at the south entrance." But
interesting.
to
That's good.
us, it looked like it was all the same because we had entered and exited through the same area in the park. So, but at the end of the day, I feel like that's really just a non-issue. Like I got turned around for 10 minutes. That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
yeah, and you left the park, I think you said around 4 PM. That wasn't
Yes.
because they were closing, that was just the way your day worked out?
That was just the way the day worked out. They have nighttime fireworks and everything the way you expect at any Disney park. Um, in our case, the day was getting hot. We had done the rides we wanted to do, and we were going to a really big seafood buffet that evening. So everyone wanted to go home, take a nap, freshen up.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
that's good.
And then so now that you've done this, right?
Yes.
You've planned it all, you've done the whole deal, and you get to go back one more time. What would you do different?
I think the first thing I would do is I would pack differently. Um, I feel like I saw people bringing in things that I did not think would be allowed, such as huge, larger bags. So, I mean, I'm familiar with the security situation at Disney World. I know that they're going to check your bags and everything. That really didn't happen. So I'm kind of like, oh, well, we could have brought water bottles in because I was worried that we would be told no outside
Right.
food and drinks. So we could have brought water bottles in ourselves. And I think that's a big thing I would have done differently. I also would have researched more of the food options in advance. I think I spent so much time focusing on what rides were good that I forgot to look at food options and figure out like, do we want to order in advance? Do we want to indulge in different things and work from there? Because it's really crowded. I don't know if I can fully state how crowded it was, and I think we were there on a slow day.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it really is worth it to plan ahead for food and drinks. That is the big thing I would do differently, which is to say, like maybe bring morning snacks or something and then plan better for lunch because we thought we'd be able to get food pretty much as soon as we got into the park with like some level of waiting, but not a lot. And instead, the second thing we did after our gondola ride, which, oh yeah, that's right, we went on a gondola ride first.
Oh,
That was fun. But the first thing we did was wait an hour in line for food.
wow.
And,
For food.
I would say that
That's a
I
huge
if I had
chunk of
known
your
that,
day.
if I had known that, I might have planned better and looked up where we should be ordering ahead from.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like that now with the order in advance at
Mm.
the Disney World
Yeah.
where you think, "Well, I can just skip the line because I see the app," but you can't, right? You had to
Yeah.
plan ahead more to do that. I like
Yeah,
that
and
that
that's where I was like, but by the time we realized we could order ahead,
Yeah.
it was either
That
wait in line for an hour
yeah.
or wait for our food for an hour, but we were so hungry and hot we didn't want to do anything until we had eaten. So there was kind
Yeah.
of it was kind of a trade-off. It wasn't terrible though. There was a lot of AC, and that is something
Like
that was really helpful.
like in the queue lines and stuff?
Yeah, once we were able to get inside the buildings, there was AC in the queue lines and everything.
okay. Is it just like a relentless sun the whole time? Or like should people be wearing sunscreen or hats?
You should definitely be wearing sunscreen hats. I would say think of Florida and then just assume that it's going to be like Florida as far as weather goes.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Wow.
it was really hot and humid. It's worth noting we actually went like a couple of weeks before their big like monsoon typhoon season, so it's just really humid. And
Yeah.
I really think that people should probably wear sunscreen hats. I saw a lot of people with umbrellas walking around
Sure. What
to
about bugs?
block the sun. Huh?
Is there a lot of what about bugs and stuff? Do they have different like in Florida, sometimes you get the love bugs and they're everywhere, but is there I'm thinking like if there was a Disney park in Minnesota, you'd have to worry about mosquitoes,
Yeah.
things that
I never really noticed anything that I would consider having to worry about. And that could just be the time of year we went or anything like that. But no, I wouldn't say like bugs or anything. Just the sun, the humidity was definitely pretty bad. But there is a lot of spots where there was shade that you could rest as well.
oh good. Okay.
In what month did you go? Just for folks who might be wondering, like when
We
you're talking.
went in the middle of May.
Okay.
Okay. So I would think of that as being a cooler month.
I would
Florida,
too, just getting into the spring summery.
yeah, but it sounds like the sun and everything was just kind of relentless.
It was. It's also higher in the northern hemisphere than Florida is, so I think there's more sun going on during that time of year.
Sure, sure. Yeah, it's closer to the sun
Yeah.
because yeah, being higher up. Well, it sounds like you had an awesome trip. It was really fun to like see your daily updates
Yeah.
and see what you had going on. We've never been to Japan, and
No.
I'm kind of I'm not gonna say I'm kind of jealous. I'm just straight up jealous.
Yeah, that
It's like,
You
sounds
should be
amazing.
jealous, Dad.
yeah, yeah, you guys had an amazing trip. I'm super glad that you got to do that and see family. And
Yeah.
I know that when you told me you were going to Japan, I was not surprised at all, just knowing like the things growing up that you always loved.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it was really exciting for us to see you be able to go and experience that. So, any final thoughts on the trip, or any last piece that you think people should know? Oh,
There are no garbage cans in Tokyo.
I've heard that. I
And
have heard that.
here's the thing is like everyone you 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 know, one day you're gonna be walking down the street, you're gonna be drinking a water, and you're not gonna know what to do with your bottle. And I need you to know, people, that you have to hold on to it until you find somewhere that has a trash can that will let you
wow.
use that trash can. And that was the
Gosh.
biggest culture shock for me because Tokyo is so clean. But as an American, I'm used to trash cans every 5 feet on my public streets in the middle of a busy downtown. And that was a big culture shock.
Okay. That
Yeah, that would be hard to handle if you're carrying around a water bottle or something and had to hang on to it forever.
yeah. We just learned today that Epcot no longer has flat top garbage cans. No more eating.
You can't eat on top of the garbage can anymore.
Yeah, Benny's gone. So garbage cans are
People have
apparently the
got to start learning how to balance on their arms now, you know?
They do sell trays that hook onto your wine glass. It's like a charcuterie board kind of thing that's goes to the side. But
Can I
yeah,
just get
that's
that for baseball games?
I know, really.
Where was this when Ben was in Little League?
Yeah, I know.
yeah. I don't know if those companies are out there, but if they're looking for a channel to sponsor, we're all about
We
charcuterie and
will
wine.
we will try it all out.
So, well, Cece,
Absolutely.
it was great to hear about your trip. I'm really glad you got to do it, and I hope that next time that you get to go, maybe we'll sneak along with you and
Yep.
check out Disney Sea with an expert.
Cactus in your suitcase.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We've never done one of these calls before, so I hope it recorded.
I think so. I think we're good.
All right. Well, if anyone thought this was an interesting way for us to do things and to maybe learn about experiences we haven't had, but which are generally interesting, let us know in the comments if it's something that you'd like us to do more of. And if you want to meet any of our other kids, they just need to plan cooler vacations. So far, Cece's taken the lead on that. And
Yep, that's a big one.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
our normal sign off, you probably don't watch us, so you don't know this. But if we go, bye.
Bye.